We have the beginnings of a profile page where we can log in as different folks and display the values, the user information for that particular person. So what I'd like to be able to do is update this user, right? If I change my first name, last name, or email or whatnot, let's see if we can do that. So for instance, what I'd like to be able to do is to tie this input field to some model, right, on the profile. So for instance, just like we did for the login and the registration, right, we can tie this to an ng model that ties to the username, right, which we don't have. Well, I guess we could tie it to just user.username. There we go. And we can do the same thing for first name. Oops. We could do this last name. Password, I guess, if we want to change the password. If we want to change the first name, last name, last name. I think that's all we have. Okay. Notice that it's showing the password there. Perhaps we don't want to show the password, and we might change this to be a type password. There we go. There we go. All right, so I want to update it. So we could maybe have a button here. Oops, that's weird. A button that will allow us to update the user, so that if we click on it, we would like to be able to invoke update user, and we pass in the user object. Okay, but we don't have an update user. Let's start with the component. Let's create here an update function, an event handler that can handle that. Right? We can pass in user. There it is. And what we'd like to be able to do is update the user. So it'll now typically, again, the controllers. These components, they're not responsible, or they should not be responsible for manipulating the data, the model, right? The one responsible for doing that should always be the service. Because remember, the service is eventually going to update this in the database, right? It makes no point to try to update anything here. Eventually, all has to be delegated over to to where we have the single source of truth in the database, right? So ideally, we would do this in the service. We would say this dot user service, right? Dot update user, right? And we would pass in the new values for the user. Okay? Right? But the user service doesn't have an update user. So let's go build that. Right? So if we go to the service, we would need a update user that takes as argument a user of type user, right? And ideally what it would do is that it would find the user for that particular ID and then update all the fields, right? Or maybe be smart and only update the ones that have changed, right? But let's keep it simple, right? We're just gonna say that we're gonna look for it for var I equal 0, I less than this user's length, I plus plus. You can still use just plain old JavaScript to iterate. So actually, doesn't like var? Or let, maybe? JavaScript is TypeScript, right? TypeScript is a superset of JavaScript. Okay, if you type just plain old JavaScript, it'll work just fine. Right? It just adds these additional abstractions on top of the core language. Anyway, so so let's get a hold of const a local user here. Which is this dot user sub I. So we can ask, if user dot underscore ID, if this is equal to the user dot underscore ID, right? If we found it, then let's update all the fields. Right? Or again, you could be smart about this. Anyway, this is going to be client-side code that's going to go away. When we start looking at the server side and the database side. For now, let's keep it simple. So if it's equal, then we're going to update all the fields for the user. This dot user ID dot username. Well, presumably we're not going to allow them to change the username. Maybe not the password. Let's just change the first name. First name equals user dot first name. And this dot users sub I dot last name equal user dot last name. Okay. All right. So let's do that. Let's try this out. Let's see if we broke something. Let's log in as Alice, and let's set Alice, and let's click on update. I'm not sure if it actually worked. Let's go to some other user 234. There's Bob. Let's go back to Alice, and it didn't work. Wait, what? Did we get an error? Oh, this is complaining about something. Okay, found user, update user. Let's make sure that we are even getting here. Are we getting here? User. Go on the right-hand side, console. So if I say Alice, update. Okay, so it is getting there. Let's see, can we step through this? Let's step through this. Let's put a breakpoint right there. Let's try it again, update. Okay, it's there. There's user. Let's step in. Okay, let's see users. There they are. And the ID is 123. Right? The ID is 123, and there is a 123. Let's see if we make it in here. Okay, did find it. And it's right now there is no first name, but here there is an Alice. Okay, and I. Okay, that's good. Let's go 1. Let's see if it added it. There's users. Okay, it did modify the first name, so that looks like it's working. All right, and let's continue and find users by ID. So this would be retrieving Alice. Okay. Let me see. The users is Alice still in there? Oh, I don't have it. Okay. But anyway, let's navigate to Bob maybe. Bob. Let's come in here, and we have users, and it's not updating it. Why are you not updating it? All right, I'll need to debug that. What's it saying? Error? Say again? Yeah. Okay. Is that what I was trying to do? Ng-init, find blah blah blah, update user. Change the. Oh no, I think I said that we weren't going to allow to change username. Find credential. All right, I'll take a look at that. The other thing I wanted to discuss is if when you reach a particular profile. Ooh, Bob, what happened here? Oh, maybe you're right. I must have done something wrong there. Yeah, why is this now displaying Bob and not the ID? Did I change the ID to be Bob? I think I screwed up here. Change that. So modify first name, username, last name. Did I do that in the profile maybe? Update. Oh, did I maybe name it wrong here? Username, password, first name, last name. No. Should have gone through. All right. I'll have to debug that. So that's still Alice. That's still 234. All right. So yeah, the other thing that wanted to point out is, say I wanted to navigate to the websites for that particular user, right? For instance, I had here a link where I wanted to navigate to the websites for that particular user, right? Well, what I like to be able to do in the route link, navigate to profile, maintain the state of the application at all times, so that I always know whose profile I'm looking at and whose websites I'm looking at, right? And this would be the user.id followed by the website, right? That would navigate me to the list of websites, right? So if I render that, notice that if I hover over websites, it's pointing to profile/234/website, right? Which presumably would navigate me to the list of websites. Currently, it's not navigating anywhere, right? That route has not been created. So let's create that route. Okay, we'll need to stop this to create the component. Let's go to website, and let's create a website list component. Okay, and add it to the route so that we can navigate to that. Oh, by the way, whenever we create a new component, it declares it as part of the application module. Notice that it automatically added it, right, to the website list component and to the declaration automatically. Normally, you would have to do that by hand, right? But the tool that does that for you. All right, so let's go back to the routing and let's add that navigation path. So let's copy that, add a comma there. And if we go to website, we'd like to load the website component. So website component. There it is. Okay, did it load it for me? No, it didn't load it for me. Is there no website component? Oh, website list component maybe. Okay, it's asking me if I want to load it. Yes, load it. There it is. It declared it for me. There we go. All right, so now if I reload this, if I start this, if I click on website, I'll see the list of the websites. Maybe. No, maybe no. Okay. So now if I click on website, notice that it goes to website list works, right? Ideally, that would be the list of all websites. We can get a start on that. This would be maybe h1 website list, right? Which would render a list of websites. For now, let's render maybe websites.length, right? Presumably there will be a whole bunch of websites which we don't have yet. Okay, so let's create them. Let's add them to the components. Right? Ideally, we would have here a list of websites, so websites, which would be an array of websites, right? Which we don't have. We don't have. Let's create a model for website. Okay, let's do that. Notice that I crashed the application. So let's go to models. Let's go to the model and create a website model. So this would be a new TypeScript. This would be website.model.client.ts, right? And this would be an export of website class, a class website, which will have an ID, which is a string. It will have a name, which is a string. And let's keep it at that, right? Semicolon and semicolon. And maybe a constructor that takes as argument an ID as a string and a name as a string, right? And copies this over from the incoming attributes, right? So this would be name, name. All right, I think we have the beginnings of that. Once we have that we can go back to the list, and now we do have a model for that, so we can load that. And this can stop complaining. There we go. We have the beginnings of that. Let's see if this compiles. Okay, we have 0 websites, right? But we can load it with some mock data like we did for users. Now, for users, we mocked the data inside of the service, right? We mocked it inside of the service, right? A better approach is to have a separate file that has all that mocked data. Okay, so we could create a TypeScript called maybe website mock.ts, right? Where here we create an array of these, and then we can assign it to others, right? So we can say export and declare a constant called websites, right? Which is of type website array, and has the following values, okay? And we can load that, there we go, as a dependency. There we go. And in here we can create several instances of websites, new website, and provide an ID, and this is Facebook, and declare a couple of these. And over here would be maybe, so this would be Twitter, this could be Amazon, and this could be Wikipedia, right? Now that this has been declared, we can go back to the list of websites and load that mock, right? We can load it with a website, oh, did we export it? We did, right? Web sites, there it is, right? Notice that it loaded it automatically, right? And there we go. So now, if we load this, why is this taking so long? There it is. There's 4 websites, right? And we could use that array of websites to maybe iterate over them and display them, right? So here, not only that, but we can use maybe an UL, right, and then iterate over them, right, and display all the names of those websites. We can use the directive ng4 that allows us to iterate over an instance array and create local website objects from a list of websites, from a collection of websites. And then as we iterate, we can display the website name, for instance, right? Right, there it is. So we have Facebook, Twitter, Amazon, and Wikipedia, right? That makes sense? Right? These could be hyperlinks, right? And the hyperlinks can then navigate to the edit. You need a route for the edit, right? And so on and so forth. All right. I think